In this lesson, we're going to verify the LAN uplinks in the GUI. We're going to verify the LAN uplinks in the CLI. Then we're going to verify the SAN uplinks in the GUI. And finally, we're going to verify the SAN uplinks in the CLI. I know at the beginning of this lesson I mentioned servers, but I'm actually going to wait till the next lesson in order to configure and take a look at server ports, because it makes a lot of sense to enable your discovery policy first before you enable your server ports. Let's go to the GUI. Here I have my UCS manager, and in the previous lessons we had configured some LAN uplinks. Well, it's very easy to go through and take a look at your LAN uplinks. You can simply go to the LAN tab and we can click on the Fabric Interconnect that I'm concerned with, and then I can click on Uplink Ethernet Interfaces and I can see which ones are enabled and what slot they're in and what ports they are as well. I can also go down to the Uplink Ethernet Interfaces down underneath the Fabric Interconnect, and I can see there the state of my network interfaces. I can drill down a little further into the individual interfaces and take a look at how they are configured, whether they're enabled or disabled, and if they have any faults or events associated with them. I can also take a look at my port channels, and if I drill down in this port channel, I can see that I actually do have an issue here because it's surrounded by this yellow box. So I can see that the overall status has failed and that there are no operational members of my port channel, and that might be an issue. There's also other places I can go to troubleshoot my LAN uplinks, and that's my LAN cloud. I can click on the LAN cloud and it shows me different views of my LAN information. For instance, I can see my LAN uplinks right here. I can see which ones are enabled and which ones are disabled across both of my Fabric interconnects, where previously I was just drilling down on an individual Fabric interconnect. I can also launch the LAN Uplinks Manager to help me configure these interfaces. Now, in regards to my SAN ports, I can do basically a similar thing, where I would take a look at the individual Fabric interconnect that I am concerned with. In this case, it's Fabric B. I can look at that one holistically and see which interfaces in what slots and what ports and what their configuration is. I can also drill down into my uplink fiber channel interfaces and take a look at those, and here I can see that the administrative state is enabled for all these. But as I drill down underneath that menu, I can see that really it's only interface 2/1 that I have good connectivity with, and that is on vSAN 2011. These other interfaces I have issues with. They're enabled, but they don't seem to be connecting correctly to the network. As a matter of fact, it says that this uplink is down with the vSAN as I go into those individual ports, and I'm sure that the other ports will say the same thing. So I can very easily see by the color of the box around the port if there's an issue and what the severity of that issue is. I can also take a look at how my ports are configured very easily by going underneath the Fabric interconnects, and once again I can go to my SAN cloud and I have different tabs for things that are associated with the SAN that I can take a look at. Here I can take a look at port channels, I can take a look at my interfaces, whether they're fiber channel or FCOE. I can also go into the SAN Uplinks Manager and work with my interfaces there. There's also another way that I could take a look at the health of my system. I'll log into my Fabric Interconnect, and one of the first things that I see is I'm kind of in a general area. Where I want to get to is I want to actually get to the switching portion of the Fabric Interconnect. So to do that, I have to type connect and then where I want to go. In this case, there's a couple different places I can go. I can go into the SIMC, the I/O module, the adapters. In this case, I want to go into NXOS. or the switching portion. Now if I know what interfaces I'm looking for, I can just do show interface FC2/1 if I want to take a look at the interface 2/1 of my fiber channel uplinks. And here I can see that the hardware is running in MPV mode. The admin port mode is NP, and that it's not trunking. It's only running a single vSAN, which is 2000 over it, and it actually looks pretty good. I can also do commands like show NPV status to see what's going on here, and I can see that 2/1 is acting as an NPV port, and as these virtual fiber channel interfaces come up, for instance VFC 733, then it will try to log into the SAN fabric on vSAN 4094, which in this case won't work. But if we take a look at VFC 739, that's trying to log in as vSAN 2000, and that will work on this port. The other interesting part is that these VFCs are actually going to be the fiber channel card on the servers that are going to be logging into the SAN to access storage. Now what if I want to take a look at my network? Well, I might not know which network port that I'm using as an uplink, but I'm going to take a look at one. Show interface E1/1. Here I can take a look that this interface is up, but if I take a look at the description, it's actually not a network port, it's a server port. So I might want to do a show interface brief, and now I can see all my different ports on my system. If I take a look at my Ethernet ports, I can see that, for instance, Ethernet 1/7 is a trunk and it's up. So if I do show interface E1/7, now I can see that this is an uplink and it is connected to the network and it's up and running. It's also in trunking mode and it's going to be able to share different VLANs over that trunk link. So these are different ways that I can log into the GUI and log into the actual fabric interconnect of the CLI and kind of see what's going on underneath the covers. Please join me for the next lesson, Verifying Discovery Options.